Great. Okay, so this next presentation is going to be about our integration with Blackboard and Moodle. Very, very sort of popular request in recent years. So essentially what we've decided to do was address one of the most popular use cases, which we're getting constantly requested, is to be able to allow a student to submit content securely for assessment purposes by their instructor. So what I'm going to do, this is actually going to be a practical session, so I'm going to go through how it works from within Blackboard. Feel free to ask any questions along the way, and then I'm going to go through and show how it works from Moodle. I'm not biased between either LMS, so don't worry about that, but it's going to be Blackboard first. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to log in as Chris, the instructor. So the idea behind this is that I may want to actually create an assignment within Blackboard, and essentially we've made it possible so that you can actually post video to form the base of that assignment. So where we link up is within the mashups area. So the instructors shouldn't really need to relearn, or there's a minimal learning curve here to be able to utilize this. So I'm just going to call my assignment a name, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to select the Helix Media Library mashup. So what we're actually doing is, behind the scenes, we're communicating through LTI, user information. So my Blackboard profile has information about my role and my name and my email address and so forth, and it's actually establishing a session with the Helix Media Library through LTI, so it's actually logging me in behind the scenes. Now, based on my role, it's giving me different permission sets to what a student would have. So because I'm an instructor, I'm giving the ability to be able to actually upload new content, but also search through any existing content that resides within my personal category. Or if I have permissions to be able to access categories within the media library normally, then it's also going to replicate that permission set as well. So, I mean, really what I kind of see is, more often than not, your users will probably just be typing a brief within the assignment body, follow this, submit some media evidence, etc., etc. But if you do want to be able to reference a video or an audio file, this is how you can go about doing it. So I've clicked on search, and this now gives me the access to my personal category, all the media assets that reside within my personal category. If I have other access levels to other categories within the media library, then I can search, filter it down by all media, and then I have access to the other categories there as well. So, I mean, in most cases, that's quite important, because a lot of people here today, have probably had the media library for a number of years, have been going through a process of contributing and uploading content to your categories that you have in your library that you've set up. And the idea behind this is you're going to want your instructors to be able to get at that content that they've uploaded outside of their personal category. So we're able to do that. I'm going to select a random video. So I posted this audio file, actually, we'll use that earlier. So yeah, I mean, this is giving me now a preview of what the student's going to see. So I'm able to set certain settings to how that appears to the student. So at the moment it's going to be embedded using this 640 by 385 frame, but I might want to make it a little bit smaller. There are some resource files here as well, so if somebody's uploaded reference files for that video, they're going to replicate within the integration with Blackboard and Moodle as well, so this student will be able to pull on those resources through the drop down there. And of course, the student's going to be able to switch between the quality settings as well. Now, I might want to also post other information, so I might want to allow the student to download the file. So that's quite important, because a lot of people ask me this. How do you prevent a student from being able to download files? Can we turn it off? Yes, you can. You can do it on an asset-by-asset basis. So if you don't want the student to download, just turn it off. And then if you want to post the title and description info, it updates there as well. Once you're happy, just click Finish, and then what will happen is it will post that media item within the body of the text editor, and then you just go about what you're normally used to in terms of setting up an assignment within Blackboard. So give it a points possible. I'm going to go 10, and away you go. You literally just click Submit in the normal way that you would. Kind of duplicated it a little bit there, so let's get rid of this test. So what I'm going to do now, after I've just deleted this, is I'm going to go into the, I'm going to log out, I'm going to go back in as a student, show you how it looks from a student perspective. So logging in as Chris the student. And I'll go to the course and the content area. So be able to actually watch the video back. One of the things that we've changed in the new version of this plugin, and some people may already be running this actually, is we're using little modal pop-up windows now, which I quite like because it makes it a hell of a lot easier for people to be able to get to the video without being lost within the navigation of Blackboard. What was happening previous to that was when a user clicked on a video, it would take them to another page within Blackboard, and certain bits could be missing with the navigation. So we've taken that away. We've made it simpler. So when you actually click on a video, you're going to remain on the same page, but the pop-up will appear. And when you've finished watching it, you just click the X, and you're back to the original. So the idea is the student would either read or watch the video or listen to the audio back, and then go about submitting their content for the assignment. And it's exactly the same process as earlier. The student just needs to know that they can access the streaming tool from within the mashups menu. Once they do that, same thing. We're communicating to Helix Media Library, this time saying this is actually somebody of the role of a student, and therefore the student isn't actually having the same menu system appear that was occurring when I was logged in as an instructor. They can only upload content in the context of responding to an assignment. So they're not going to be able to search through all of their personal category and other media assets. They're not going to be able to build up a vast, pool of content that could potentially be open for some kind of inappropriate use. So it's just code. One of the little things that we've also added is we've pre-populated the title using the assignment name. Of course, the student can edit that if they want to, but we just want to try and make it as easy and quick for people as possible. So given that I am a student, I can only upload into my personal category, even though I don't have access to it necessarily. And then I just go about the upload process. Add some tags and so forth like that. Little tip actually, I'm not sure if a lot of people know this, but you can add tags by typing and then pressing the enter button, and it auto adds. It saves you having to use the mouse to click on the ad, which can be a little bit fiddly at times. So little shortcut there. Then the next stage is to browse for the file. Now I could be actually conducting this from an iPad or something like that. It doesn't have to be an old-fashioned desktop PC, and that's what we're seeing more and more of now. Students are using mobile, tablet devices, that kind of thing. And as Rob said earlier, it will give you the option to actually shoot video on the fly, and it will all work, or you can select a pre-existing media that you've recorded on the device's film reel. So it's not fussy either way.
There's one in the user group folder that we go on the desktop.
Oh, right. Cool. 41 meg, but we've got Janet on our side. So, I'm uploading a sample HD file, as it would allude to by the name. Next stage, it's going to extract thumbnails. You might have some people that want to upload as a custom thumbnail if they're that way inclined. It's totally up to the user, the contributor. So this is useful, and given that I'm currently logged in as a student submitting media for the assignment, I might have something that's relevant to the media in the form of a PDF or a Word doc or something. I could do that as well. I could upload some reference files. It's not actually going to be using your Blackboard server to do the storage of those files, nor is it going to be using Blackboard to store the media. Everything is stored on the media library itself. And then once I've gone through that process, my content appears within the body, and I literally just click submit. And then actually I think there's a second stage in Blackboard where you have to click OK. And that is how a student would go about submitting media for an assignment. The next stage to this is how you can actually view student submissions logged in as an instructor and go about giving feedback. So I'm going to save that actually. Same thing, I'd go and navigate to the course, and with Blackboard it's the grade center. So I'll go and inspect everything that needs to be graded. And you can see that my user attempt from earlier is there. And the content is currently available for me to preview, but bear in mind that was a relatively large file. It's going to be working its way through the encoder. So very much depends on the speed of the server that you've got running this system. But if it is still being processed, the submission, then it's just going to display a little message on there. But it is available for the user to download if they really need to get to it, and they can keep a local copy and go through it that way. But once it's finished processing, that will be available to stream back. And then I can just go about the normal thing of saying, right, I think that was probably a 5 out of 10 attempt. And it's again here that I could insert back into the process, and if I want to then post some video feedback, I can do that. So literally just go through the mashup. Ooh. And if I had something, this is kind of where the that sort of link up with Camtasia Relay comes into play, because I see Relay getting used more and more now to actually just record student submissions. So, for example, if a student had submitted a Word document, you could use Relay to record the screen with the Word doc up on the screen, and you could actually go through the process of giving feedback and instructional advice, all that kind of thing, whilst recording the screen, and then submit it back to the student to play back later so that they get the feedback. In this case, I haven't got that to hand, so I'm just going to literally, there I am looking a little bit funny. Here's my feedback to learner, pre-recorded, and off it goes. Now what we're going to be doing in a future version of this is we are going to be introducing webcam recording, and that I see as a bit of a game changer in terms of, in a real life scenario, as an instructor you're probably going to have 20 student submissions to go through, and realistically you're not going to record something on a camera, plug it into your machine and download it that way and then upload it manually. So this new way of doing it will just give the instructor very easy access to be able to record through their webcam, give 20 seconds, 30 seconds of feedback, and then submit that to the learner, and then go straight on to the next one. You know, if you've got, as I say, if you've got 20, you just want to try and get through them as soon as possible, really. And that is my feedback. And then in the same way, I'll very quickly log in as a student. And then I'll be able to go and review that here. I can get to the feedback that way. If we can stream, there we go. He's looking a little surprised. So that's the process of utilising the integration with Blackboard for media submissions, media feedback, that sort of thing. Are there any questions from that demonstration before I move on?
Yeah, the mashup's available through any text box editor.
Yeah.
So it could be used in discussion posts by students as well.
Yeah, it's not officially supported outside of the use of the kind of the assignment side of things, but I have tested it and it does work quite nicely. So it will be available wherever the text editor appears. Do you mean you just want to be able to limit it so it's just for assignments?
If you wanted to have it in assignments, is there any way to do that?
I think so. Is there a way within Blackboard to be able to do that so that you can prevent it from appearing just for and only in the mashup?
It's probably more a question for a Blackboard expert.
Yeah, I think it's possibly a Blackboard setting, because when you implement a mashup, that will render wherever the text editor appears within Blackboard. So I'm not sure if there is actually a way of being able to limit it like you're after.
I mean, we built logic into it so that when the student comes through, know where they are within Blackboard. So when a student comes through, we know to just provide them with the ability to upload, and that's it. So we do know that. So we could potentially lock it down on that basis that, you know, when they're coming through, we know they're in an assignment, so let them do it. But the hiding of the actual thing on the mashup menu, it's not anything we can really do about that. That's more of a Blackboard thing. And I'm not entirely sure whether you can do that within Blackboard, being perfectly honest with you. I mean, there's lots of Blackboard experts here today. Maybe sort of throw it open to the audience, that one. Does anybody know whether you can hide it on the menu in Blackboard?
No, don't think. I'm not totally certain, but I don't think selectively in that way. The solution might be, it knows it's in an assignment, it knows the content type it's coming from. So when you go to Helix, it says, sorry, you can't upload from here.
That could be done, certainly. It's not in there at the moment, because I know we had a lot of people in the US, actually, that started using it within announcements, because they just wanted to put a video up on an announcements page, and actually out of the box it didn't work, because announcements didn't have what LTI needed, which was a kind of resource link ID.
Okay.
So resource link ID is what we need to create the content, and that's normally associated with a course or a bit of content or whatever. And announcements just didn't have that blank. So when they went to do it, it didn't work. So we built something in that said, actually, we don't need that anymore. Within the context of a forum, or you know what you were talking about, I would guess a resource link ID would be passed through, so it would let it do it.
Yeah.
So we'd have to build that logic in to stop it doing it within a certain context. At the moment, the only logic that's there is it's an assignment, therefore do this special thing.
Yeah.
If it's anything else, it's just saying allow people to do it. I mean, just out of interest, what's the scenario where you wouldn't want to allow it? What is it?
To allow it or not allow it, sorry. I'm just thinking with how much media is being uploaded. Well, I don't have to deal with the Helix server, that's somebody else, but if we're talking about it being used for assignments, and that's our kind of use case for looking into it, and it can be used almost anywhere within Blackboard that has a visual text box editor.
Yeah. So it's just demand based.
Yeah.
Demand based. It's demand based rather than you don't want people to do it, because you can just turn off student access completely if you want to. It is configurable to do that. But then that would be the assignments one as well.
Yeah.
You could actually apply a quota, an upload quota. So based on how your AD structure was, you could apply an upload quota on a per group basis within the media library. So you can either say have a quota of 10 gig for the entire lifetime of a student's access, or you can do it on a month by month reset basis.
Okay.
So you can prevent that.
If a student has uploaded an assignment, it's gone into the student's personal category.
Yep.
If the student then logged in directly to Helix Media Library, would they be able to find it, or would it be lost to them?
Depends on how they were set up in the first place. Now, that goes back to what Rob was showing earlier with the question that comes up on the screen. When a user for the very first time a user utilises the Helix tool, it needs to establish a marry-up between their profile on the VLE and their account on the media library. So if you've got students that have never directly used the media library portal before, they'll click, no, I've never used the media library, and it will then establish their account on Helix as an LTI account. That means that they don't have any form of credentials to be able to go to the portal, log in, go to My Content and start messing around with stuff that they've submitted for assignments. If, however, they are set up as an Active Directory user, because this would be in the use case where you want the students to be able to actually access categories within the media library, so they need to be able to authenticate with Helix so it knows who they are. We've actually introduced a new feature, and this was actually a customer request, whereby you can prevent students from being able to access their My Content area so that they can fiddle or alter or modify a submission after an assignment has been closed and they've submitted. So that's something that we've looked at and we've done. James.
I think this is a really innovative solution for video assignments, but we ran an assignment recently for a fairly big cohort, close to 200 students, and the overwhelming majority of students just didn't get the mashups bit. Despite a very obvious paper guide and my own video guide I'd done as well, they just didn't read it. Have you got plans at some point to develop your own video submission tool that doesn't necessarily piggyback a Blackboard Learn assignment?
Well, the short answer to that is not at the moment. I mean, the direction that we're going in currently is we're going to continue to refine and improve what we've done already, but I don't think that we're going to move away from the way of doing it with the mashups, unfortunately. So what actually happened then? So
most students were, because they're used to submitting a file, they're used to submitting a Word document or whatever, they just submitted the file, and unfortunately in Blackboard doesn't handle video files particularly well, so it's kind of in limbo. They can't view it, these lecturers can't view it using Blackboard, and it's very hard to download a video file from Blackboard. It takes ages, it times out. So what I've had to do to that student, to that lecturer is offer to help the students re-upload, effectively clear their submissions, and we're talking a lot of students, and I'm going to have to get them to re-upload. It's a student's not looking at the guides. It's not a difficult process, it makes sense and it works very well, but if you had your own video submission tool, much like another assignment like Turnitin, it would be really obvious.
It sounds almost as if the way it works within Moodle could actually benefit the way you want it, because within Moodle, you'll see in a minute, you can turn off the submission types. So your students, you're saying they're just submitting a video directly to Blackboard and they're not even looking at the mashup. In Moodle, you can turn that off so that they have a blatant button, and
do you know what?
it's unavoidable.
I think I know why that probably happened, because I've seen this myself. Because what are you using? Service Pack 14? Or, well, Bryony's probably here, isn't she? She's coming this afternoon. Yeah. You're using the very latest Service Pack of Blackboard. And I think from Service Pack 14 onwards, when you go to do that reply, I mean, certainly in R1, I mean, I could probably show it to you, but it used to have the text editor there, available straight away. But then you have to click on this button that says
Write Submission.
Write Submission. But it doesn't make sense because it's a video. So when you click on the Write Submission button, then it brings up the text editor, then you could do it. Whereas before, by default, it was shown. So I think what you've probably found is they've come to that page and they've then gone, oh, I've got these two buttons, Write Submission, and the other button I think is something like Upload File or something. So they probably clicked on it and just gone, oh, I'll just upload there, it's easier, I can't be bothered to click on that menu. There might be a setting, I could never find it, because in our demo system it's a real pain. When you're demoing it, you have to click that button to bring the text editor. So you might find that if there is a setting, I mean, again, it's a Blackboard thing, but if there's a setting to bring that text editor out, and then they might be more obvious that then you click on that button.
I mean, it's complicated because there's a button that just says submit at the top, and that's what they have to do to submit to Turnitin assignments, which is another type of submission altogether. So in some cases, they're actually submitting ghost assignments with no files in it at all. So if there was just something that's far more obvious, that would be great. But I'll pay attention to the Moodle demo.
I'm not encouraging you to switch to
that's not an option.
That's not going to happen. Yeah, no. Okay, right, so the way the Moodle stuff works is very similar to the Blackboard, so excuse me if I'm kind of repeating myself a little bit, but we need to obviously show it from a Moodle perspective as well, because it's just as important. I'm going to log in again. I'm going to log in as an instructor. That's going to give me access to my course areas. And the Moodle way of doing it is you would turn the editing on, and where we link is in a couple of ways, actually. So conventional assignment creation, we link there. We've created a specific video assignment plugin for Moodle. The actual plugin set consists of about 3 individual plugins. So when you download it and so forth, there'll be 3 things that you need to do to install this. But anyway, in assignments, the other way that we link is if you just want to be able to post a video within a course page, then we link up under the Helix Media Library activity. We've created our own activity, basically. But the other thing is I see users are more comfortable with what they're familiar with, and if they're more comfortable with inserting labels, we do integrate with the labels area as well. So I'm going to go and explain and show the assignment stuff now. So let's create a new assignment, and give it a name. So yeah, you will need to show the editing tools, and where we link is as a button on the text editor. And it's going to give me the same screen as the Blackboard screen. It knows that I'm an instructor. It's logging me in. It's giving me access to my personal category and, you know, my other media files. Like I was saying earlier, you see that we've got some Camtasia Relay recordings that feature within my personal category. And that's something that we've done with Relay, so that when you make a recording and publish it, it then goes to that specific user's personal category. So it's outside of the search results. It's private to that user. And then the user can use it at their discretion, really. So let's go about this one. Same page, same screen, where I'm able to customize and change it. And then I just need to click Insert, and then that will do the same thing. That will post this into the body of the text editor. The other thing is, if you want, this is kind of linking into what James was saying, if you want, you can now decide exactly, you can obviously always be able to do this, but you can decide what kind of submission type the student has the ability to do. So if you don't want to confuse your students and you just want them to be able to upload video, turn off the file submissions, make sure video assignment is ticked, and then that will allow the student to go and submit media in response to it. So there's my assignment created there. Just log out and log in as a student. Okay. So I'm going to go to the assignment I created just now. So yeah, it's at this point, if the student has never used this tool before, it's not going to let them view the video without first identifying who they are. And this is very, very much based on how you've got the access type set up within your media library. Anyone that's an administrator here and has the HML admin access, you'd log in, go to the admin dashboard, and it's a setting within the security settings themselves. And you can actually say whether or not you want to use LTI only, Active Directory, or a mix of the two. If you use a mix of Active Directory and LTI, then the student will get that question come up, and they'll be able to say, in this case, this one is configured to just use Active Directory. So it's only going to ask me this once. It's never going to ask me this again. Now it knows who I am. It knows that I'm a student, etc., and have access to this course. It gives me access to the content, and then I go about adding a submission in the normal way. But because I tick video assignment, I have this nice big green button to be able to upload content, and I won't be able to do it outside of this. So same process. Title, description, select file. Okay, the 43 meg file, 41 meg file again. And again, as I say, you could be a student doing this on an iPad or what have you, and it would work just as well. Select thumbnails, associated files, or skip, and then summary, and off it goes. And there, it displays that it's processing. So, as far as the student's concerned, they just would click the Save Changes, and then that's their assignment submission complete. So I think the way that it works at the moment, if you've got it linked into your SMTP server, it will handle email notifications and things like that, so it keeps people posted of exactly whereabouts in the process it is. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to talk about another thing which I do actually get asked quite a lot, and I wonder if it's relevant here, because when you've got students that submit excellent examples of content and submission and so forth, a lot of people ask me, how, as an instructor, do I then get to that content and then showcase it within a more public category within the media library? How do I manage all of the student media submissions for my assignments that I've set up over a period of a year? So I'll talk you through how this actually works. Now, it would require the instructor to be an Active Directory user rather than an LTI user, so that they have access to the portal. So what I'm going to do, tell you what, let me log out first. I'm going to go in as Chris the instructor. I hope this works. And then I'm going to go to my content. And then what we've put in here is a little drop down called assignment submission. And this will allow me to list all of the content that has been posted in response to the assignments that I've done over a period of a year. I haven't done many yet, so this would actually be pre-populated with just the assignment names for my assignments that I've done over a period of a year. And when I actually filter through that, it would update the content underneath here to list those student submissions which will belong within the student's personal category. I can then simply go through a process of reassigning the content out of a user's personal category and placing it into a more public category for other people to see when they go to the portal. So it's kind of giving the instructor self-service way of being able to manage student media submissions and promoting good examples of work, that kind of thing. So I'm going to go into Moodle again. I've covered that. I'm going to log in as an instructor. And then I'll go to the assignment, and I will go about viewing the submission. So in the Moodle, it's the grade book. Here I can choose to preview the content, which will then give me access to the submission here. Or if I just want to get straight in and do some grading, then I can go about viewing the content, which hasn't processed yet, but view the submission, play it back, assess it, download it if I want to for later, and then I can go about giving it a grade in the normal way. One of the things that's coming, and this will probably be covered a little bit later, is we want to try and duplicate exactly what we've done with Blackboard and give Moodle users the ability to give students video feedback. So that's currently something that we're working on at the moment. You would be able to, as an instructor, go back into the process and post a video of feedback or a relay recording, and once the webcam capture function's out, I could then record potentially through a webcam and give feedback in that way as well. So it's really just doing what we're doing with Blackboard, giving Moodle users the same experience. Any questions from that side of things? Okay. We need a microphone.
You mentioned about encoding via iOS, so you can record on the fly, which you could use for video assignments. Is that possible in Android and other devices?
Yeah, I think on Android tablets, for some Android tablets, you can record. I mean, we've done the work mostly tested on iOS at the moment.
It depends whether you can access the file system on the Android device. Sorry, I didn't catch you ask the question. Yeah, so if you can access the file system on the Android device, you can normally upload it. It just depends. Some of them you can, some of them you can't. Because, I mean, I don't know whether you've ever... I mean, somebody that I know got an Android device for Christmas, and it was one of these ones that's totally locked down, and it just had, no ability to do anything. And then I had to get access to the file system to change some stuff, and you could, but if you sort of clicked on browse for file on various websites, it just wouldn't let you get to it. So it depends. It just depends on the operating system that's being used, depends on how the device has been set up. Most of the sort of consumery ones that do what you want them to do should do. I mean, our one does, doesn't it? We've got a lot of app on Android, to be honest with you, but we've got a
Galaxy
Samsung one. It lets you do it.
I'm a naive academic, and
Confession.
I am one of several people who need to review a particular set of submissions. You were talking about going in on the HTML webpage to view them and perhaps have the ability to export them or make them public. Where is the message that goes to HTML that says that I or my colleague can both access that? Is it coming from Blackboard, which is where the tutor access is controlled for that course.
As I understand it, it's using LTI to pass the names of the assignments through from the VLE to Media Library. So when you go to the Media Library portal to view the student submissions by assignment name, you're only going to be viewing a list of the assignments your user account has created. Only. So you won't, unless you're an administrator, and in which case it'll have a very large list, and we've recently improved the viewing of how that's all arranged, because it's going to get long, that list, over time. So do you think that's something that you would use then? You know, being able to
I'm
move
just thinking
content?
of all the what ifs that have to be explained to the academics who are going to be using this.
Yeah.
We have to make sure that we understand what it is that we're explaining. Obviously, we've got to show them that it works and test it out as well.
One of the things you could do is, if you had a good example of content, you could move it out of the student's personal category and place it in your own personal category. Therefore, you've got the padlock option, so that you can then make public access available to that content, and you can distribute the link to it to other people. That's something you could do as well. John.
If you have multiple tutors on one module,
Yeah.
one tutor sets up, one tutor sets up the assignment, only that tutor would be able to view the material, not
Correct, yeah.
not the other tutor. So there's no way of sharing that responsibility out across the tutor group, is there?
No, not currently. No, it's just specific to the user that's set up those assignments.
Okay.
You won't. There isn't a way of allocating permissions so that a group of users can see other people's assignment names in that list. Not yet. I think that might take quite a bit of development to do, possibly. These.
It's just the way,
Yeah.
certainly within our own institution, the normal business would be there would be multiple tutors in any one module.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
I'll stand uncomfortably close to Chris on the mic. One of the things that's worth noting, and it's sort of been something that I've just found from taking calls from people and talking to people about this, is on our website, on this page that's up on the screen here, there's a sort of video playlist about Moodle and about Blackboard, and it allows you to, it's got 5 videos that talk through how the process works from a student and an instructor point of view, so that the video is actually designed more from a kind of, perspective of showing the product on the website to potential customers, but actually this is really good video content that you could embed in your Blackboard course. And actually to embed it, I've embedded it in our Blackboard so that, I'll show you, it's probably easier to show it to you. So from our website, if I take that. This is actually a way of you potentially being able to grab this as well. So from our website, there's this little link here that says demo site, and this takes you to our demo Blackboard. Then this is quite a good way of showing it to somebody, because obviously this is the building block is installed on this Blackboard instance. If you log into this as instructor, and instructor, then on the test course, unless Chris has deleted it, no, here we go, it's actually got that item, that video playlist. Try not to delete it, because I'm going to have to put it there again, but if you go in there and go edit, it's actually got, and you just go to HTML, if you copy and paste that, I mean, we intend to leave that up forever, you would be able to then have that within a course. So, you might want to create a course. I mean, I've known somebody that's done this in Moodle. He created a course that was just learn how to use the Helix Media Library Moodle plugin. and then he just put the playlist. And there's exactly the same playlist for Moodle as well, which shows the process. So you could just say, well, if you want to know how to use it, go here. And it's, you know, it's nicely put together, video, it's got music. But, you know, it just shows you do this, you do that, etc., etc. So rather than, because I know James said earlier, he said, oh, I've created some content on how to do this. I thought, well, I didn't realise you'd got exactly. No, this is why user groups are really good, because I can then say, oh yeah, you know, some people have asked me about this video playlist and this has been really useful. And actually, it's all been done for you. We've spent the time and the effort to do that, to show how to use it, and it's there. And they're all broken into 1 minute segments. So if they can't watch 1 minute, I mean, you can't do anything for them, can you, really, at the end of the day? Exactly the same on the Moodle page. Again, on our Moodle instance, if you log in as a teacher, sorry, yeah, Moodle terminology is a teacher, isn't it? You can do it in Spanish if you want as well, German. If you log in, what have I done? If you log in, you'll get exactly the same. So if we go back, oh, now I've done it, haven't I? Here we go. It's too clever by half, isn't it? If you log in here, there's a test course, and you'll be able to see exactly the same as well. So, you know, I know a lot of people have used that I've spoken to. They've said, oh, yeah, that's really good. I'll embed that. Another very obvious question that comes out of that is, oh, that would be really good to have in the media library as well. It would be really good if I could create a playlist, an embedded playlist like that. And that's something that we have on our roadmap to do, because it's a really useful learning tool. You know, it's not something that we wouldn't want to do. I did actually prepare some slides for Chris as well that he didn't go through. So, talking about LTI, I mean, it's probably a nicer demo, but there were some slides here about, yeah, stuff that's coming soon. I mean, Chris mentioned we have this Lightbox thing now. So there's been a few of our customers that have been trying this out. So before, when you clicked on the link, we had an experience where you just got, you know, the player with Blackboard sort of framed environment. And it didn't really work that well, because what we were finding was when they changed the service pack of Blackboard, then it seemed to just take up the entire page. There was no way of navigating away from it. So we did some work on getting it to launch in a Lightbox so that you could close very, very easily. We've had some issues with this, being perfectly honest with you, that we have fixed now. It was to do with the instance name of particular Blackboards. Some people that had installed it as BB Learn, some people had installed it as something else, and we were having some issues with launching the Lightbox on that, but we're pretty much through that now. So if you get the latest version of the building blocks, you will get the Lightbox experience. So when you click on it, it will launch in a Lightbox, and then you close it. So it won't play through the Blackboard page. It will actually launch a player, which is a much nicer experience, I think. The other thing to say about Moodle as well, in terms of stuff that's coming soon, Chris mentioned it, grader feedback. So we've got, it is yet another plugin, unfortunately. I mean, my opinion on the Moodle stuff is it would be nice just to have one plugin that did all of it. Unfortunately, that's not the way Moodle works. So we're working on another plugin at the moment that will allow a grader to give feedback to a student, and this is what it looks like. We've done it, we're just testing it at the moment, make sure that it works in all different scenarios. And it's the same thing, it just shows at the bottom of the text editor when you're doing your feedback. And again, like we were saying, it's pretty obvious, it's down the bottom of the text editor, there's not really anything to press on. The other thing as well that lots of Moodle people highlighted to us was that Moodle 2.7 and above, so 2.7 is out now, I think 2.8 has been released now as well. They support a new type of text editor. So whereas before they would support a text editor called Tiny MCE, our plugin works with the Tiny MCE editor. They now have this thing called Atto, which is their new text editor that they bought out. We are working on supporting that as well. We do have a plugin that will do it, but again, it's going through testing at the moment. From what I've been told about Moodle 2.7 and 2.8, is that you kind of have the choice to use TinyMCE or Atto, so you don't necessarily have to migrate to it overnight. But obviously, if we're wanting to support the very latest and greatest, then we want to be on board with Atto or TinyMCE. So we're very close to having that out there. Just out of interest, Moodle people, who is on 2.7? Has anybody upgraded? 1, 2, 3. How many people here have got Moodle? Or a lot. Okay, so it's like 15-ish, 12. Really? Okay. Oh, I thought it was in 2.7 only. I was told 2.7, but yeah, the look and feel of it is an interesting one. That is Atto, but the TinyMCE one looks exactly the same. The actual look of it is the same. I think what you're talking about is when it went from being like a color to a grayscale editor. That isn't Atto. That is still TinyMCE. So you can still use TinyMCE as a grayscale editor, not with coloured icons, and not so it looks essentially the same. But one is, when you go to 2.7, I've been told then it is under the hood. It's an Atto editor rather than a TinyMCE. Yeah. Yeah, it would be on 2.7. 2.6, I'm not sure. I mean, what I've been told is that it is 2.7 or above, but I'm willing to be corrected by people that use Moodle every day. That's it with regards Blackboard and Moodle stuff. I mean, like Chris said, the direction we're going is to really tidy that up, refine it, make it look as good as possible, make it as usable as possible. So any comments like James said about, you know, students not being able to use it in certain scenarios is really useful, and collar us in the break to let us know things like that, or request it via the feature request form. It's all stuff that we need to pay attention to. The software as well is being used all over the world now, so we've had some very interesting issues in China. China, for people that use Blackboard, China, they're stuck on Service Pack 8, 9.1.8. and they don't have any intention to upgrade beyond 9.1.8. So that, for us, creates slight issues because we have to support 9.1.8. The reason why they're not upgrading, this is just for your own interest really, is because every subsequent release of Blackboard involves things like YouTube and social media and all that kind of stuff, and all of that stuff doesn't work in China. So upgrading to these later versions of Blackboard is difficult. And we even found that with our software, that we had some references and downloading some fonts and bits and pieces, and we actually just had to strip that out because it didn't work in China. So yeah, we've got an interesting time ahead with that because we will have to support 9.1.8. So who's on Service Pack April 2014? Who's on that? So quite a lot of people have upgraded to that, and they got their new one out as well. So we've got fairly cutting edge people here. 2.7, April 2014, got all the good ones. Okay. I think we're done. There's tea and coffee outside. There's a break now between 11:30, well, we're slightly over that. So for the next half an hour, if you can come back in half an hour, have a tea and coffee, have a natter, and then we're going to do John Smith from University of Highlands and Islands.